Hello and welcome to the SME Focus show powered by MTDCNC. I'm Mark Weymouth from the Sensor Specialist Plus Automation. This show aims to highlight aspects of UK manufacturing and in particular topics of interest to SMEs. My guest today is Derek Barnes, consultant to the cold forming industry, or as many people know him, the Confederation of British Metal Forming's fastener specialist. Hi Derek, welcome to SME Focus.
Thank you, Mark. Great to be here.
Thanks for coming on. I think you're going to tell us a very interesting career path and route and explain why you love what you're doing. So it's going to be an interesting journey, I'm sure.
I'll do my best.
So starting at the beginning, as they say, with all those cliches, you started work as an apprentice fitter and went on to study mechanical engineering at Liverpool John Moores. So my first question is, do you come from a mechanical background, or what prompted you to do an apprenticeship and then formally study mechanical engineering?
Mm-hmm. Well, my father was an engineer in the gear manufacturing plant at Halewood way back when. And so engineering was sort of in my blood, but I must admit, when I left school, I didn't really have a plan for what I wanted to do. And I enjoyed my school life. Probably didn't do as well as I could have done if I'd not enjoyed it as much. But when I left school, it was, okay, what do I do now? So engineering was sort of the natural route. And I tried to get an apprenticeship in Ford and other big companies around the Liverpool sort of area. But at that time, there weren't many going. And so I ended up in a very small family-run company, which was great, and I enjoyed it. But yeah, so engineering was sort of always probably going to be there. I was always interested in things as a kid, taking things apart and trying to understand how things worked.
Okay, so you mentioned your first employer was a manufacturer of copper and brass contacts for the electrical sort of switch gear, so the internals, and you were there for a couple of years. But would it be right in saying really your career was defined by your second role, which was as a cold forming setter, the manufacturing of cold formed hollow parts? And I'm probably going to, my first question is maybe if you can explain to those that don't know, what is the cold forming process, and expand onto really how that hooked you for the next more than 3 decades as a cold forming expert.
Yeah, well, when I started Ecaton, which was the electrical contact company, it was, as you say, a fitter. So we did lots of bench work. We did, a little bit of machining, press work, lots of different sort of tasks. At the same time, I'd started doing a basic engineering course at a local college because I wasn't quite sure of the route I wanted to take. And then this role became available, which was in the town I lived in. So it was great for me. And then after about 5 years there, I wanted to sort of move on to different things and came across this advert for cold forming. And like many people in the country, even today, didn't have a clue what cold forming was. But I went along and had an interview and got the job and started. And pretty much from the start, it was something I thought was very special. So the cold forming process is basically taking a coil of wire, feeding it into the machine by a set of feed rollers, or on more modern machines nowadays, linear feeders, shearing off a small volume of that wire. So you end up with a cylindrical length, which is the volume that then you're going to shape into the final product. And then it goes through a series of dies and punches and is formed to form different progressions, each progression getting it nearer to its final shape. And so the machinery can have one die, it can have 2 dies, it can have up to 6 dies, depending on the complexity of the machinery. But it's all about metal forming and the use of force through the punches to get that material to flow. And just straight from the start, to me, it was like it was artistic. It wasn't an engineering process. It was like art. We were taking this solid piece of steel and changing it into something completely different. So back then we made a lot of weld nuts, and we also made valve spring caps as well. And so this will tell you the age. One of the companies, or one of the cars we made the valve spring caps for, was the Mini Metro. But we also made bigger ones for Land Rovers as well. And so the range of products we made was good, very interesting sort of end usage. And that's what drew me into the cold forming, that you could take a solid piece of material and without removing anything necessarily, change its shape into this final product. And so from there, it sort of blossomed. I was a machine setter, so I was trained if the very old-fashioned way, which people are still trained that way today, which is you get put with somebody on a machine and you watch them set it, and then they give you a bit of a go, and it either sticks or it doesn't. Something that I moved away from as soon as I started doing training. I moved away from that sort of process very, very quickly. But yeah, why I was there, after being there a couple of years, they started to give me the new guys to train. And so that's when I first started to get involved with training and to look at how do you put across the experience and the process to someone new, to allow them to get up to a high level very quickly. And so even when I was at Kinnings, the company was called, in Southport. So even when I was there, I was thinking, I enjoy setting the machines. It was something that I really loved to do. But I also really enjoyed the training side. And then sort of after being there again about 5 years, the company was bought out by a group, and they decided they wanted to move all the machines down to Wednesbury in the West Midlands. So that was where it was a decision time, really. We were offered the choice of moving down to Wednesbury or getting made redundant. So I still remember it vividly. About 3 of us went down in one of the director's car to Wednesbury. It was a cold, rainy February day. It was that long ago. They didn't even have the IKEA there, so there wasn't a lot there. And it just looked, as most places do in the rain, it just looked grim. And I just thought, no, I don't want to do this. I still want to be involved in this industry because I really like it, but I want to do something else. And the training had given me sort of an opportunity to look at that and to even think there was something else for me there. And so I did take the redundancy, and I went to John Moores University from there and did a HND.
Okay, so after doing your HND, I'm assuming that's the point where you went across to Henrob, and you were there for 25 years. So what role did you initially go into Henrob to do? If you can talk us through your career progression at Henrob, the kind of things you did, and maybe also explain a little bit about Henrob. So I know them for the self-piercing rivets in the car industry, but I'm sure they're across many other industries. And maybe also, if I can ask you to explain to people what a self-piercing rivet is for a starting point.
Okay, so a self-piercing rivet is basically a joining fastener, so used for joining 2 or more layers of material together. It's the high volume is definitely in the automotive industry, and when I started back in '95, they just got the Audi A8 contract, which was the first aluminium subframe vehicle, and so they riveted that together. And that's where really the automotive side started to take off. So it was a very small company when I started. I think we had about 5 machines, 40 people worked there. We also made the equipment that set the rivets as well. So self-pierce rivet is semi-tubular or fully tubular with different head styles, different tail geometries, depending on what the application is, used across a wide range of industries. White goods, road signs is a big one. And my wife always laughs at me when we go for a walk. I always stop to look at the road signs to see if they're riveted together, which most of them are nowadays. But certainly it was nice to see the product you were making in its end application, which sometimes you don't get to see. So yeah, steel frame buildings took off, and obviously the automotive industry as well. So in automotive, it's used as a replacement for spot welding. So certainly, as the green, I can't think of the word now. As the sort of
the push for green and aluminium.
That's it. Yeah, the automotive industry moved to or started to look at aluminium panels and also high strength steel. So great for Henrob because they're difficult to weld, and so self-pierce riveting really started to expand. So in the UK, Jaguar Land Rover was our biggest customer, and then we worked with companies in Sweden and America as well. And all the car companies were looking at either high strength steel or aluminium mainly. So we were at the forefront of that technology. We had a very dedicated team because that's what we produced, self-pierce rivets. We didn't produce any other product. So everyone in the company was really focused on that and how to get the best out of it. So when I went in, I first went in as a machine setter. And it was very fortunate timing for me because they had an old coal forging engineer who'd been around the industry for many years, very forward-thinking guy, but he was past retirement age already when he came to Henrob. And so he was looking for someone to take into engineering to really train up and take over from him. Unfortunately for me, he saw something in me, and very quickly moved me from the shop floor into engineering. And so one of the first things that we focused on was training because we were based in North Wales, and there wasn't the skill set there of people who'd worked in the coal forming industry. So we knew we had to train our own. And to be honest, we wanted to train our own because we wanted to take away some of the old methods of the guys that used to set the machines, which was modifying their own tooling and not working to various standards that we wanted to introduce. So it allowed us to control much more closely how we trained and get them really focused on setting our machines for our product. So my first sort of jobs within the engineering team was tooling standardization. So I looked at all the tooling across the different jobs, and with the view to how do you change over a machine and how can you make the tooling in between different jobs as similar as possible, and change as very little as possible between different jobs. So only change the tooling that's necessary. So I did a lot of changes on the tooling and standardization, which ran in line with what we were trying to achieve on the training. I wrote dedicated training manuals for the machines, which I've continued to do through to today. And that alongside me doing the training as well, we were able to get people up to a very high level very quickly. And we were using 6-station machines too. So my roles at Henrob, as I say, started as a machine setter, then moved into engineering. So in engineering, I did the tooling design. I was involved with the machine specifications and improvements, working with people like Carlo Salvi. I was involved with all the ancillary equipment. I managed the tool room as well. So when I say tool room, I mean tool stores. So we bought all our tooling, but we stocked a lot of tooling that we could then put out into kits. So I managed that. So I worked very closely with the tooling suppliers and looked at how we could get the best life. So looked at everything from an engineering point of view, and how can you improve efficiencies and make things better every day. To me, the role of an engineer is to go in and make a difference every single day for the guys who are running the machines, and that's what I tried to do. I worked with the wire companies, and we improved the wire performance to suit what our product was trying to do. So my role was really wide-ranging, and I sort of excelled in that situation, getting involved in everything. Later on, the shop floor supervisor left, and so they were looking for someone to manage the various areas. So I took over the management of the coal forging area, which was quite interesting, because obviously I dealt with the people from a technical point of view of any issues on the machines, and developing new products, and running sort of problems. But I hadn't dealt with them on day-to-day issues of holidays and time attendance and things like this. So it was a good learning curve for me, and it added into what I already did and helped to develop me and my sort of communication skills and how I dealt with people. And so it was enjoyable, sometimes stressful, but overall enjoyable. And it, as I say, it did develop me and mold me into sort of the person I am today. Yeah, and then from Henrob, back in 2020, we'd been before I left Henrob, the owner had always wanted to manufacture in the United States, and we had presence over in the United States, but just sales. And he'd always talked for years and years that we were going to set up the machines in the States and make product over there. But he never really had the volume of product that we could do it. And then probably must have been about 2011, 2012, something like that, we won the contract for the Ford F-150 pickup truck, which is the biggest selling vehicle in the world. And so very quickly we had to set up a manufacturing plant in the States. So we'd always talked about it and said, okay, let's get one or two machines over there, and let's bring in one or two guys to set them and an engineer and build it up slowly. But no, we had to go from 0 to 100 miles an hour in a very short space of time. And that's really where the training and the organization of the manufacturing cell, if you like, came to the fore. And so we employed one engineer who'd had experience in the industry, and everyone else we employed there on the machines had never seen a machine before. And so we trained them using my methods, and they went from 0 to in a year they were making 1.5 billion self-pierce rivets on multi-station machines. It went so smoothly, it was unbelievable. And it went so well that in the process of doing it, we'd been bought out by Atlas Copco. And so the management, certainly over there, didn't recognize what had been achieved. And we actually got more credit from the people like Carlos Salvi and the wire and tooling suppliers and the ancillary equipment for what we'd put in, because we put a lot of machines in, and we, as I say, we went to very high volumes extremely quickly. So that was a very proud moment to be involved in that and to see it flourish as well. And that's sort of what planted the seed within me, that the process that I'd come up with for training really worked, because we knew it worked in the UK, where you were bringing individuals into a team that were already setting machines. But to take a team of guys who'd never seen machines before, with one engineer who had some experience, and to hit the heights that they hit was quite special, really. And so in 2020, I took the decision that I was going to leave Henrob Atlas Copco and set up my own sort of consultancy business. Wasn't quite sure how it would look or what sort of shape it would take. Had made the decision early on in the year when COVID was around, but I thought by the summer COVID will have gone, which it did, but then it came back in the winter, of course. So from that point of view, you could say really bad timing. However, I was, one of the platforms I started to use back then was LinkedIn. And I found it very useful for getting the message out and to obviously connecting with people and sort of showing what you're doing. So I put a post there which was liked by one of the guys at Carlo Salvi, and a company in the UK who'd just bought a Carlo Salvi machine, who were brand new to cold forming. Then got in touch with me and said they were having problems trying to get the machines to running. They bought a Carlo Salvi cold forming machine and a Saspi thread roller, both of which we had when I was at Henrob, so I knew them very well. So they invited me down for a meeting to see whether I was capable to help them, and very quickly they recognized that I was very capable to help them. And so this was a company that was new to the industry, which for me was great, because I always want to attract new people into cold forming. And so very quickly I was able to help them get to a good level of experience, and we ran the machines and trained, and I wrote training manuals, did one-to-one training with them, and got them up and running very quickly. And they're just buying currently their second machine, and so they're expanding their own production facilities, which is great. So yeah, that sort of brings us up to date with where I am in my.
For the people who do follow you on LinkedIn, you quite often post photographs of flights to and from the US. So do you have any observations on the difference maybe in behaviours or attitudes towards manufacturing between the UK and the US?
It's quite surprising how similar we are in the cold forming industry. The way we've trained in the UK over the years, where way back when there was an apprenticeship scheme, which I think finished in the 1980s. So a few people had gone through that, and you had a core within the UK who had been trained correctly. And then from that, it was more of the ad hoc, go and watch him, and the way I was trained and the way many people were trained. And it's very much the same in the States, is they're doing the same sort of things. There's very few companies who have dedicated training, which is quite sad, really, because it's a very complex process. And we aren't putting in as an industry the training that's required to get people to a high skill level. So I was, when I first went over there, I was interested to see what it would be like. And in reality, it is very similar. Some companies have new machines and old, or a mixture of both. So I think the oldest machine I've worked on, the sign on the side of it said it was first delivered in 1942, and it's still running today, making parts. And certainly we have the same over here, very old machines. And the new machines, they are in there in some plants, and they're very high tech nowadays. But the industry's very slow to move over to the new technology. So yeah, I think really it's very similar. And one of the things, I don't know whether it's because we don't do a good job at promoting cold forming as a process, and very few people know about it. If you go into the street and you ask people how are fasteners made, most of them will say they're machined, and very few people will understand. One of the questions I like to ask the people who I work with wherever I go is, how did you get into cold forming? And the answer is normally, oh, well, my dad works here, or I know someone who works here. And nobody says, oh, yeah, well, when I was at school, that's what I wanted to become, because there aren't any courses available in it. No one knows it exists. And so through the CBM, that's allowed me to sort of shout more about cold forming and try and get the message out that, yes, we do exist. Yes, it's a very technical and interesting process, and there is an opportunity to have a very good career within it.
Okay, well, I guess that's the perfect lead into, can I ask you to tell us a little bit more about your role as the fastener specialist at the CBM? Maybe quickly mention what the CBM is about for those that don't know. Obviously, as a member, it seems strange to be asking that, but I'm sure there are viewers who maybe haven't heard of the CBM, and also in particular the work you're doing on the cold forming apprenticeship. Yeah.
So the CBM is the Confederation of British Metal Forming. We're the UK trade association for fasteners, forgings, and sheet metal and cold rolling companies. So we have around 200 members, and we do a lot of work within the sectors. Steve, our president, who you've spoken to on an earlier podcast, does a lot of work lobbying the government on various topics, from steel safeguarding to CBAM and things like that. And we get lots of information out to companies to tell them what the current status of various things are, and to also try and push their causes with government to try and get things changed, such as in steel safeguarding, where tariffs were introduced for steels that weren't even produced within the UK, which was unfair, really, that the companies were getting tariffed on steels that they couldn't actually buy. So we work hard on things like that. I first was aware of the CBM when I was at Henrob, because I was on the other side of the fence, because Henrob were members of the CBM, so I used to attend meetings and things. And it's only when I left Henrob and I actually spoke to Phil Matton about my plans to become a consultant and what did he think about it. I was hoping he was going to tell me I'm crazy and just stick with Henrob Atlas Copco and you'll be fine, sort of thing, but he said, no, I think it's a great idea, and also we've got an opportunity. You could become the fastener specialist at CBM, which was something I didn't envisage, and I said, well, okay, I'll give it a go. And once again, it sort of helped develop me further, pushed me out my comfort zones at times. And it's something now that I enjoy doing, trying to find topics that are of interest to people and to companies around the UK. So one of the things it's allowed me to do, which is what I always wanted to do anyway, was to develop the apprenticeship scheme. And when I was at Henrob and in about 1996, we first started to train in-house. There was you could do an MVQ, which was been written for cold forming. And we thought, oh, this is great. You know, we can give the guys on the machines a qualification. And we did that for about a year or so, and then they withdrew it. So there wasn't a specific MVQ anymore. And that was the only qualification that was potentially available. So when I was at CBM and they'd already developed a tool making course, and so okay, that's something I'd like to be involved with for cold forming. So we decided we'd do it. There was certainly interest from the industry in qualifications and training. And so I'd never been involved with writing anything like that before. And it was, once again, a learning curve for me of how do I do it. So the IFATE, Institute for Apprenticeships and Technical Education, we registered with them, and they told us what we needed to do to be able to write this apprenticeship scheme. So one of the things we had to do was set up a trailblazer group, which had to be 10 companies from within the industry in the UK who were going to back it, help with the development, and then obviously use it at the end of the process to put their apprentices on. So I wrote a occupational standard, which is the starting point, which is basically breaking down the job role into segments and then putting what knowledge, skills and behaviours you would like from the trainees to be able to do the role. And then from there, once that was approved, we wrote the endpoint assessment, and that has been approved as well. So we're at the point now where it's been approved, it's been published now, so it is available on the website. The name of it is Cold Forming Setter Technician. If anyone wants to search for it, it's there. It's still not available to take yet because there's still a couple more steps. One is we need to have an endpoint assessing company, which CBM are applying to become. And then the other small thing that we need to write is the specific training courses. So I'm trying to work with various training providers that we can cherry pick the courses they already do, which will fill in the gaps around the process, you know, things like measurement and quality and various other things, materials, technology and stuff like that. And then I need to sit down with the training provider and write the specific course for the actual training on the machines of how to set the machine. So if you like, my day-to-day job, that's what I do. I just don't write it down in course format, and so I need help with that. But that's been a huge achievement when you consider that we haven't had an apprenticeship since the 1980s, and now we've got one approved with still a little bit of work to do to get it over the line, but it's approved, it's there. So everyone who's been involved, it's been a great achievement that we've got there, and we can start to promote cold forming in the UK and try and get more people and more companies involved with the process.
If you were to put a timeline on when it would be available, what's your aspiration?
I was hoping you weren't going to ask me that, Mark.
Sorry.
It's once again, because I haven't been through the process, I don't know how long these things take, but I'm sure it will probably be another year, I think, before we can get it truly running. If you like, we've done the easy bit. We've written an apprenticeship scheme and got it approved. And now we have to deliver it. And it's trying to convince training providers to say, oh, yes, this is worthwhile delivering. So we need the manufacturers in the UK to say, yes, we want this. Yes, we're going to use it. I'm going to put apprenticeships on it. And then training providers will say yes, we'll present it, sort of thing. So it's there's still some work to do on that front, and it's quite difficult to for me, who've worked for 30 years in cold forming, it's like, well, yeah, obviously we want an apprenticeship, and we want to train people, and people will use it. But from a training provider who, once again, doesn't know what cold forming is because they've never come across that process, it's, well, why should we run this? Who's going to go on it? So yeah, there's challenges ahead, but hopefully we're getting there, and we will see how we go with it.
Okay, so we've obviously talked very heavily about cold forming, strangely enough, that. But a question I normally ask as we sort of get towards the end of the interview session is, what sort of topic are you more likely to be talking about to somebody in a kitchen or at a party, rather than cold forming, rather than this computer Teamsy type format? So what would you chat to somebody about at a party?
Well, at the moment, it would definitely be football. And as you can probably see behind me, I'm a Liverpool supporter. So we've just won the Premiership. And it's the first time that I've been there at a game when we've won the league. Within my lifetime, Liverpool have won the league a lot of times. But I've never actually been there when we won the league at the game. And it was a completely amazing experience to be there, and then at the last game of the season where we were given the trophy, and then even went to the parade as well. But it was just amazing that I managed to witness it after many years of us going through a drought of winning the league. And strangely enough, I used to play football when I was younger, so I was always playing football on a Saturday, so couldn't go to the match anyway. But then as I got older and wasn't able to play football, I could go to the match. It just coincided with us not winning the league for that long. And then obviously when we did win it in 2020, it was during COVID, so we weren't allowed to be there, which was a big shame. So this was a really special moment. Something I'll treasure always, that I did manage to witness it. And I think the signings they're making during the summer, which is very Liverpool unlike, that we're spending a hell of a lot of money on quite a lot of players. They've obviously got a very good chance of going for it again next season. So I'm definitely going to look forward to that, to attending as many games as I can when I'm not away. And see how we go. But yeah, so that would definitely be a topic of conversation. Hopefully it would be with someone like-minded and not a Man United or Everton supporter.
Interesting choice of teams, because we've both talked off air about a particular person we know who has no fondness for Liverpool. But we did also have a recent guest who mentioned Liverpool as her favourite subject as well. So I will also mention that you admitted that the LFC Canada wasn't behind you before we started this interview. So full credit for flying the flag.
Well, yeah, I think sometimes you have to push it a little bit.
Excellent. So traditional sort of wrap-up question is to ask people, what do you hope to achieve in the next 12 months? What are your plans? So clearly you're hoping to see Liverpool spend lots of money, get some reward, but beyond that, what do you hope to see happen in the next 12 months?
Yeah, well, definitely I want to get the apprenticeship courses written and out there, and the first apprentices on the courses would be absolutely brilliant to see. The second thing is a bit of stability for the industry, because it's just one thing after another, and after recent events over in Iran with the Americans, it's sort of, I'm not sure that's going to help the situation, but over the last few years, it's just been one thing after another of industry, and it's like, what else can they throw at us to put barriers in the way to us being successful? it would be nice for the government to come through with a really good strategy and really good sort of maybe funding to help industry develop within the UK. You know, all of us who work, whichever sort of manufacturing industry you're in, we all love what we do, and we want to expand. But there needs to be some help, and there needs to be a good strategy from government to allow us to do that. So that would be nice. And then also it's sort of within the CBM to continue to develop that, and to attract new members, and to, you know, give a good service to the members. On that note, I just need to plug an event that we've got coming up. So last year we ran a mini expo at the NMC. We have another one coming up on the 15th of October this year. It was a really good event last year. It's fastener focused, so it's for fastener manufacturing companies to come along and see lots of different supply chain companies that offer state-of-the-art products and services. And it's something that we're trying to develop to have a dedicated fastener show that they can come to. It was really good last year, and we're hoping it can be bigger again this year. So definitely put that in your calendars, and we will obviously be advertising it, and hopefully we continue to grow.
Yeah, I will also add my voice of support to the Fastener Show. Last year was really good. We were there and had some very good conversations. Unfortunately, it clashes with something else, so I won't be there this year, but please don't take that as an indication, because next year we'll definitely be there, and hope that it grows and grows. It's nice to see a load of passionate experts in one room. So it was a good show, and I'm sure this year will be a really good show again.
Thank you.
Okay, so most important question, other than the plug about the show, is how do people find out more about your cold forming consultancy, and how do they go around following you or contacting you? How do they find nice pictures of aeroplane departures on LinkedIn?
Yes. Well, as you say, I always put some strange messages on LinkedIn, and that's mainly because every company I work for it's confidential. So from the outset, I decided that I'm not going to advertise who I work with, because I'm not interested in working for a competitor who thinks that I will tell them what their competitor is doing, because that's not what I want to do. I want to work with really good people in the industry and help them develop. So yes, you won't see me with, you know, photographs of people I've trained and of working with, because I don't do that. So I have to put pictures of planes and sunsets and sunrises and anything else I think is of interest to me. So obviously LinkedIn is a good place to find me, and if you just type my name in, it'll come up. My email address is derek.barnes@coldforgingsolutions.com. You can reach me through that, or you can reach me through my CBM email, which is derek.barnes@thecbm.co.uk. But either, if you will, or even a message through LinkedIn, doesn't matter whether it's CBM or whether it's Cold Forging Solutions. I'll answer you on that. And really, it's sort of, you know, I just want to keep pushing the message of cold forging in the UK, and try and expand it. If you're out there and you're machining fasteners or similar sorts of products, and you're doing high volume, you should maybe think about cold forming as a more efficient process. And certainly at the CBM, we can assist with, you know, taking you down that road to developing it and supporting the process.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Derek, for being a guest this week. I think it's a good thing you do, introducing cold forming to more people, and clearly developing an apprenticeship to actually upskill people coming into the industry is a phenomenal thing. And I think you underplay the progress you've made. To be talking about having something a year away means you've done an incredible amount of work to get this far and perseverance. So thanks for telling people about that.
Thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
Excellent. Well, I will wrap up with the usual words to say to people. If you'd like to get in touch with the show with a comment, a suggestion, or much more importantly, if you'd like to appear in a future episode, please email us at inquiries@mtdcnc.com or contact myself, Stuart Whitehead, or Joe Reynolds. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. From me, Mark Weymouth from the Centre Specialist Plus Automation. Cheers. Have fun.